The spread of COVID-19 has triggered a wave of school closures around the world. According to UNESCO, the UN's Youth Agency, as of March the 10th, 32 countries have announced or implemented school and university closings, impacting over 360 million children worldwide. Another 16 countries have implemented localized school closures. So what is the impact of school closures on students and their families and societies? What measures could be helpful during these difficult times? I'm pleased to be joined from South Carolina by Shi Lu, Associate Professor from the Department of Public Health Sciences at Clemson University, and from Beijing via Skype by Professor Guo Yingjian from the School of Foreign Studies at Renmin University of China. Gentlemen, welcome to The Point. Now, Professor Guo, let me go to you first. China is taking measures to continue schooling without opening schools, let's say nationwide. The starting date of the 2020 spring semester is still unclear. In mid-February, the Ministry of Education launched the National Online Cloud Classroom, a free online learning platform for primary and secondary school students studying at home. The universities were encouraged to put their classes online. So, Professor Guo, how effective has online learning been for you 2 weeks on, and what have been the challenges?
Well, it's a very serious situation now. Schools are all closed. And China, as you know, was the first country that closed all schools. Which at first caused controversy. But now we've had more and more announcements from colleges and universities around the globe. And you know, in China, universities have their own policies with considerable variation from one to another. Mm-hmm. But my university, first of all, has organized the emergency management teams and different groups to meet regularly, very often and even every day, and discuss possible scenarios surrounding the coronavirus and its spread progress. That includes overall management of the university and how coursework is conducted. Second, the university had suspended in-person classes, but chosen some major courses from each school and department, and let them conducted online teaching and remote learning. And I do support the online education, and I believe in the effectiveness of virtual instruction.
Okay.
So I think.
Yeah, Professor Guo, let me ask you this more clearly. So you are supporting it. Yes. You're supporting this because you don't have a choice, or you're supporting this because it is working?
Well, on the one hand, it is the only solution to that. So you have to choose this. But on the other side, you know, this is the time that in crisis, people have to choose that.
I see. Okay, let me go to Professor Shi. With no national policy in place, the U.S. is also seeing localized decisions. Some schools closed, and selected schools in some states are following some kind of choices of diverting their classes online. Are you for this kind of policies in the United States? Why or why not?
In general, I understand why people started out by closing school, because that's the natural reaction when people cope with a major outbreak of the influenza. So it worked in the case of influenza, but this might not be the first thing you do when you are dealing with this SARS-CoV-2 or the COVID-19, because it affects the elderly. And it does not affect the younger children as much. So we need to be very, very careful. If the priority is to close down the elementary school, the kindergarten, the preschool, that might make it harder for the healthcare professionals to go to work in hospitals and nursing homes. And that actually might make the society more dangerous rather than safer. For universities, colleges, I think it's okay to close down.
Professor Guo,
and switch to the online teaching.
Yeah, Professor Guo, it is also a concern in China, right? Because you often have both parents working, and now one of them, at least one of them, will have to stay at home to take care of their kids who has to be educated online. How is China dealing with this challenge then?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Are you asking me?
Yeah, Professor Guo, I'm asking you, in case a child has to stay at home to be educated online, how are Chinese families dealing with the situation? Do you have, well, your students are university students, but according to your knowledge, how do you think Chinese families are getting by?
Oh, yes, and we do have a lot of online courses right now, and a lot of kids have to stay at home, and the parents and also the schools have to provide all the virtual instructions for them. And in my university, we also have a lot of major courses, to be conducted in the online instructions for the students. And we have already expanding this, and we will have a lot more courses online, and also providing a lot of digital resources for them to use.
What about the students who don't have that kind of resources, Professor Guo? What are they doing? Or it is assumed that every student had the access to an adequate smartphone or subscription, their data volume subscription, so that they can watch the video or follow the live streaming. What is happening in your class? In my school, that we have provided some platforms for them to use, like a Tencent, conference. We have a lot of other platforms for them to use, so that the students can use their cell phones, they can use their laptop and the computers. They all can use all of these facilities to access to the online courses. Let me go to Professor Shi and ask about university closure. Just now you said, you said that university closure is probably okay, but it is still causing some controversy. For instance, on Tuesday, Harvard University announced it would shift to online, and it also took a further step by asking students to move out of their dorms by Sunday. So there are different discussions going on. For instance, this person says, as a resident tutor at Harvard, I'm begging the university to support students who can afford extended summer storage, will immediately add to at-home food costs and have no quiet place in which to study, or lack Wi-Fi for online class access. We cannot fail them in this. However, there are other people who are saying asking students to leave was a hard decision, I'm sure, but the right one. While I attend Ithaca College in upstate New York during 9/11, you could hear a pin drop on campus, but classes continued. Given the world catastrophe of these matters, strategizing at home is better. So, Professor Shi, how do you look at these discussions, and is there any help given out for students to help them cope with these, or they really have to be on their own?
Yeah, I'm actually less worried about Harvard or those, the elite universities with high endowments, because I believe they have the financial resources to help their students to go through this kind of situation. And it makes sense for the universities to ask their students to move out of the student dormitory, because indeed that actually could be the most dangerous spot on campus. It's not a classroom building, it's not an office building, not the lab, it's the student dormitory when people spend most of the time. And you can view them as like a stationary cruise, where a lot of people live in a closed space. So it makes sense. But on the other hand, the universities and the families and the community in general need to work together to make sure that students have alternative accommodation plan and the connection plan, data connection plan, to continue with the life and education.
All right. Professor Guo, once again coming back to China, how much longer do you think this online new normal is going to continue, and what will be the legacy, let's say, from this extraordinary period of time, which would impact on the normal teaching methods, in your opinion?
Well, I'm not so sure how long it will be, but I do think that maybe will last longer than we expected. And as previously I said, that I do support the online education, and I believe in its effectiveness of virtual instruction. But you know, the legacy of that is that we have to think about what is the significance of the campus education, because the biggest challenge that the school closures right now bring about is, can we guarantee the quality of online education? Mm-hmm. If so, and we must, of course, people will reflect the real meaning of higher education, I mean our campus education. What is the significance of campus education? I mean, if we have a positive answer to the online education, which means if we do have the best quality of teaching, like what is conducted in in-person classes, then people will ask, what else do we want at a physical university? If it fails, then we will lose the time. So I think this is the legacy that we will learn.
So we'll probably appreciate schools more. We'll probably appreciate campuses more.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's hope that this abnormal situation will come to a close as soon, as early as possible, that the situation in the United States doesn't get much worse than this. All right. Many thanks to Professor Guo Yingjian joining us from Beijing and Professor Shi Lu joining us from the United States. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter using the handle The Point with LX. Thanks for watching. You've got The Point.